All right, guys, welcome everybody to another episode of Mac Yak number 101, or as we call it, Mac Yak 101. So we're going to teach you some basic stuff today. So, yeah, yeah. Let's make sure we have no echoes first before we move on. That always could happen. You never know, but. It should be good to go. Anyways, can't hear what? Audio's good. Can't hear Steve. Should be able to hear Steve. Hold on. All right, try it now. No. All right, I should be able to hear you guys. They should be able to hear you now. Why is this not working? Yeah, I know. It should. Just me, yeah. I'm noticing it's just me. Hold on one second, guys. Let me figure something out here, and we'll get this to go properly. Let's see. Yeah. No. We're gonna get this to work properly. Huh? Yeah. Hold on one second, guys. Yeah. We're going to blame YouTube, but it's probably my fault. Yeah, all right. Let's see if that works now.
Echo. Blah, blah, blah.
Hello. All right, I see everybody I see the meter working now.
Hello, Sean.
Check.
Hello,
1, 2.
Yay. Sean says
Yay!
Yay!
And let me guess, there's an echo?
All right, we only wasted 3 minutes on that, GT. Thanks.
What? You talk.
No, I had to actually add another one in here for the active speaker for some reason now. Maybe it's because Skype updated today.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Skype's fault, sure.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna blame Skype because I didn't change anything on our stuff. So.
Sure. Okay.
Bruce is really festive.
I'm very festive today.
Bruce will be selling Christmas trees and little beach balls in his web store as
Shipping is
well.
$1,000.
All right, guys. So welcome to another episode of Mac Yak, and we are now in episode number 101 or 101 or whatever you want to call it. But
can we count?
We're gonna learn you some stuff.
Yeah, today we're basically winging it. We got a couple of different topics, but it's kind of a wing it show tonight. One of the things that happened, we're going to go to news and announcements first, I guess. What do you say?
I say okay.
All right, so we got a few birthdays coming up this week on Mac stuff. The iMac Pro was released around this time in 2017. Who owns one of those?
Not yet.
Exactly. We're waiting for them to go on the used market.
I will say, though, that so far, we're going on 3 years now, it's been a very robust Mac. I mean, they have Facebook groups for the iMac Pro that have one post every 6 months. There's nothing going on Apple's forums. It's a good system. It doesn't overheat. It doesn't break down. It seems to be a solid system.
Well, I think Linus Tech Tips broke one, remember?
Well, he's a klutz. What are you going to
do? And then what's his name had to fix it for him? Rossman.
Rossman.
Yeah, because they were taking one apart and they broke the display and zapped the power supply. So yeah,
that's
So when my wife's iMac 2014 iMac fails, if it ever fails, which it will, because it's a modern Apple product. Probably going to go with a used iMac Pro for her because they seem to be solid.
Yep.
Now, if you put a sticker that says Pro on like an iMac G4, does that make it a Pro?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Next thing is the Trash Can Mac Pro was released December 18th, 2013. That'd be tomorrow. It's
And as we know, they didn't have any problems either.
What was that famous
Yeah.
saying that what they said? Innovate my ass.
Yeah,
Yep.
can't innovate
Yeah.
anymore, my ass.
Yeah, I think that was the wrong innovation.
Yeah, innovate themselves into a heat box. Yeah.
I want to own one of those. I want to have one in my collection because it is iconic, as bad as it is. But they are still going for stupid money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even the Mac Pro, the classic Mac Pros are still going for stupid money some places.
I've seen them come down a little bit, but yeah, still.
You know,
I think the cheapest one I've seen is like $1,500.
and
Like,
then
okay. Oh, yeah, but it's spec'd out. See, that's the problem. I want a base model because whatever GPU you have in there that you think warrants a $1,500 price tag is going to burn out. I don't want it.
Yep. And then the last one is the latest Mac Pro, which is the newest one, was released with the one with the $1,000 or the $400 wheels was
Yep.
released December 10th.
Yeah.
700,
that-
wasn't it?
Or
That's a year ago
$700
already.
wheels. That's right.
I remember us getting all pumped up for that thing.
Well,
And I still
Like it
am.
was yesterday.
Oh,
I
yeah.
still am. It's so far I haven't heard any complaints about it, and it is definitely a powerhouse. People are getting a little worried, like, oh, I just spent 50 grand on a Mac Pro with wheels, and now these M1 Macs are getting pretty close in performance. What's going on?
Well, the Apple's going to have an upgrade where you could take the shell off of that and just shove a bunch of Mac Minis in there. And then,
Yeah, that works.
yeah, I don't think that's gonna work.
it's like the old
And,
Apple II
as-
GS upgrade.
As we discussed this time last year with Ken, we will one day all own one, and we will have a street race while we sit on Mac Pros and see.
Well, you
It
could
sounds
do like
fantastic.
you could do
We'll
like
play
Ken
Unreal
did
Tournament
too,
on 'em.
and put wheels on your classic Mac Pro. He
I
did
already
it.
have. Yeah,
He did it.
hell of a lot cheaper too.
I
Well,
have
he
wheels
did.
on my G4. So there you go.
Well, he went to the hardware store and bought them from a hardware store. So
Well, I have that coveted little skate thing that Jay wants.
yeah.
I got two of those. You got the one for the G4.
That's what I just said.
Oh, I'm not really listening to you. So.
That's apparent.
The video where somebody went on Amazon and bought some caster wheels and then just like drilled holes in a classic Mac Pro on the feet. And just look, I got wheels too,
It's fancy.
It's fancy.
and it actually looked pretty good because they were the clear caster wheels, the plastic ones.
That's neat. Yeah, like
Yeah,
like
pretty
this
cool.
this Mac Pro I have on my desk. The feet are all like, bent and everything. I wouldn't mind doing that to something like this.
Yeah.
I don't move mine enough to warrant wheels.
That's true though.
That's exactly true, Bruce. I don't want mine to move, to be honest with you, because when it's on wheels, it tends to roll around a little bit.
You can 3D print little chalks for it.
Or not put wheels on.
Or little chalk blocks and put a little tag on a little streamer on it says remove before flight.
Yeah.
You could get a piece of wood and just like put it, where that curvature is on underside, and then put a skateboard there or something. You get very fancy with it.
Yeah, there you go.
There
It's
you
a
go.
hip Mac Pro.
But
We are
Yeah.
so innovative. We are.
Yeah, we're gonna be
we
that.
These are all
certainly innovate
billion-dollar
better than
ideas.
Phil Schiller does.
yeah.
That is true. That is very true. All right, so we're gonna be pretty long on this next topic here.
Only about 2 hours.
Probably. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it, and it's Apple operating system. We did talk about this one time before, but we talked about only
been a
OS
while.
10 operating
No,
system.
no, we covered all of them.
No,
back
we
then.
didn't. No, we didn't cover the.
We did
We
OS
did.
10.
We started at System 1 and went all the way to Catalina.
No, I don't remember. Did we?
Yep.
We kind of took some shortcuts, I think, though. We
I
spent
thought-
more time on OS 10,
Yeah, I thought we did OS 10 only.
from what I recall. But I
It's been a while, so I'd have to go back and watch that episode.
June of last year, episode.
This time we have visual
28.
aids.
Yeah, but we do have visual aids this time, so we could go ahead and start on that if you guys want. And
Yeah, because we did this a year ago, and we had a blast. And people certainly seem to like talking about older operating system versions and stuff. So we
Yeah.
figured, let's do it again.
all right, so We'll go ahead and start with the very first one that Dana kind of sent to me. So here we go. It should be up on the screen now.
So this is system 0.85. This was actually released on the original 128K, and it was, according to the Apple Wiki, it was released with a Finder file labeled as 1.0, and it had a guided tour of Macintosh, I guess, application on the disk. Now you'll notice those are floppy icons. There were no hard drives, obviously. And that is the original About This Mac window.
So that was, you said the first one was 95. So this one I'm showing now is 97.
Oh, well, now see, this is the weird part about old systems. It was called, this right here is called System 1, but the Finder version was 1. The system version was different for a while, and so the system version is 0.97, but it's still sold as System 1.
They kept that system going, I think, up until System 6, when they sort of kind of unified it for a while there. You would have the system version and the Finder version.
So System 1, according to the Apple Wiki. This is interesting. For several versions of the original Mac OS, when you viewed a window in list view, there were no icons. There were just words, just names, file names, no icons. So if it was a folder, you had to have, there's the name column, the kind column, and size and all that. So only the kind column would tell you whether it was a folder or not.
And someone decided the little child's drawing of a mountain was rubbish, so they've abandoned that. And interestingly enough, comparing that last one to this, the folder icon is different as well.
Yes, it was kind of rounded before.
Yeah, and here we see something they've sort of refined it into what stuck around for a long time.
So a couple other notable things about System 1. The control panel, you only had one. There was one control panel that did, all of your display, your volume, your background, things like that. And then there was no shutdown command. There was no new folder command. So there was one folder provided by default that could be duplicated if you need to.
I can't remember which one it was, but I did use one of the earlier systems that didn't have shutdown on there, and that really confused me. Having been using sort of Macs for such a long time, to sort of sit in front of something that looks like a familiar operating system, but there's no shutdown there, I was like, what am I supposed to do?
I remember
some of the things that. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I remember going into the list view, like you were mentioning, Dana, and didn't have icons, and I thought I broke something because this was on a very old machine I was playing around.
So there was no support for color at this point, obviously.
All right.
And the system came with a single printer extension for the image writer.
Good old image writer.
How many of those you have, Steve?
28 and counting.
No, I've one of the Model 1s and I think 5 of the Model 2s. If you don't count the LQ.
Gotcha. All right, we're ready for the next system, System 2.
Yep, System 2. System 2, you see a much more familiar looking window and icons there. Startup time was apparently reduced by 20%. They removed Finder menu commands put back and close all, which close all you'll notice that OS X now has again, and I think maybe OS 9 did too. I don't recall, but that was there early on, and it's something I never knew.
You could always close all with Option Command W though, couldn't you? I think
so.
Don't know.
Yeah, because on Mojave, if I hold Option, it does close all. So
yeah.
And
I'm gonna try it on 9 right now.
This was the first version of Mac OS where you could eject a floppy by dragging it to the trash.
Ooh. Now we're getting fancy.
I'll say.
And it was the first OS to include the chooser, which is how you chose your network connections or your printer.
What year was this, Dana?
This was April 1985.
Okay, because I was just thinking back to the Apple 2's version of System 6, the GS version, where it does have the chooser, but I think that was 86. So.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it for System 2 as far as.
All right. So
new
we'll move on to System 3.
And 9 does not seem to have close all, at least in the version I'm running.
I couldn't remember if it did or not.
Ooh, was this the inception of Disk First Aid?
Yes. This, I think it was. I didn't see it on the last one, but anyway, this was included with the Mac Plus, January 1986.
Mm-hmm. And this is probably the first system I was exposed to, I think, from memory, or certainly with any sort of awareness of different systems. I mean, when I very first used one, like in the 80s, I may well have been using an earlier operating system, but certainly with an awareness of different operating systems, this was probably the first one that I actually went, oh yeah, I'm using, this system, whatever. What did they call it? Sorry, which one did they call this one? 5 or 3 or whatever?
This was 3.
3. Yeah. Okay.
I would like to quickly point out what a beautiful trash can icon this system has.
I like the other one.
You're trolling Sean.
Always.
No, he wouldn't dare. Not in a live show.
Well, you'll notice Finder version is 5.1. So they were releasing updates to the Finder and the system separately back then until at some point, I think it was maybe...
Who cared about version numbers?
Yeah, it was one of the next ones, I think. Something about, let's see. Oh, System 3 was the first operating system that fully supported HFS.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Was it
before that?
MFS?
Before that was Macintosh file system. Yeah.
And a very interesting thing, we may well have mentioned this before, but one of the very interesting things about the Apple file system versus the hierarchical file system that was brought in later on was that with the old AFS, even if you created subdirectories on your floppy drive, although they might appear like they were in a separate directory, it was all essentially one big directory. And so if you put a file with the same file name into a separate folder, it would actually say, it wouldn't allow you to do that because they were two files with the same name. So even though they appeared to be in separate directories, and these days, of course, no problem. If you've got two files with the same name, you can put one in one directory and one in the other. With the old AFS, if you actually had two files of the file name in two separate directories, it wouldn't allow you to do it.
Yeah, I remember my father naming things years later out of habit using Option F, and then I put in the chat there just that little weird F thing, so you would have the program name and the symbol for a folder because he was used to the funny way it was. Yeah. So a lot of applications actually seem to follow that rule.
So there were 4 subsequent updates to System 3, all the way up to 3.4, and pretty much all they did was update the printer extensions and Apple Share and things like that, so nothing huge.
Okay.
Where's the next one I have?
It's coming.
There it is. System 4.
Larry and John have joined the party.
Yeah, look at that.
Now it's
and
the
there's no
Four
mountains
Stooges
anymore. So this was introduced with the Macintosh SE, and then subsequent upgrades were released with the Mac 2 and beyond. The most changes to System 4 occurred in 4.2, where they enabled a color support, color menu, and they added print monitor and the font DA handler, if you can remember that stupid thing.
Oh, yes. Anyone who doesn't remember the font DA mover hasn't really lived.
That was pain. That was absolute pain.
You live that soon, Humpers?
Yeah, I'm going through that at the moment, so yeah.
And that's pretty much it for System 4. And we're going through these kind of quick because they all look pretty much alike. You can see little changes. Mm-hmm. System 5 here next, though, introduced the About This Macintosh window. They still called it the Macintosh Finder. That's still System 4.
I see the same screenshot.
That hard drive test
Someone is asleep at the wheel.
No, hold on.
There it is.
Hey, look at that.
So now we see
4.2.
It says System 5 on the picture.
It's System 5. Yeah.
Someone's lying.
They were still doing the separate updates. It was Finder 6 and System 4.2, but they called it System 5.
Collectively, System 5. Yeah.
This is where
which is it does get very confusing.
It does.
God, it's horrible.
System 5 had the earliest version of what you would consider multitasking, like multi-finder.
It was called cooperative multitasking, I think they referred to it.
Yeah, something like that.
It wasn't proper multitasking, but yeah, I mean, the fact that you could actually have two things running at the one time was a pretty big deal.
Yeah. And then we go to System 6.
Dun,
All
dun,
right, now we're having stuff to talk about.
Yes.
So System 6, like the notes here are pretty comprehensive, but basically this is where they unified the version numbering between the system and the Finder. So everything
still
was
looks
version
different.
6
It says 6.1.8 for Finder and 6.0.8.
yeah, but it's 6 something. It's not
It's still
4
6,
and
yeah.
5.
But it's not the same.
Yeah, I mean, they were still obviously
Closer.
updating them as separate things, but at least they were doing them under the same sort of primary
Right.
number there. The same
Yeah,
number.
I mean, if I look at my Mac right now, I'm running Mojave, which is 10.14.6, but the Finder is 10.14.5. So.
Gotcha.
Okay, so it says here. It's weird because it said in System 5 that cooperative multitasking was introduced, and now it says it was first introduced in System 6. So it's one of the two. But
It was actually
that's where you
introduced to System 5, but System 6 actually made it work right.
Okay.
It's interestingly enough for people who aren't particularly familiar with System 6. I mean, when you just install System 6, it works the same way as it did for all those previous versions. You would open an application, it would completely and totally take over the Mac, and you would use whatever was available memory was there. From the special menu, there was an option to select Set Startup, and then you had the option to choose whether you wanted to start into Finder or into Multi-Finder. And then if you select Multi-Finder and you would restart, it would then relaunch, and then you would have the little icon in the top right-hand corner showing that you were using the Multi-Finder. And then when you launched an application, it would you would set how much memory you would want it to occupy, and it would load up and use that amount of memory. And then you could keep adding as many apps as you could within the memory constraints. And of course, keep in mind that under System 6, those memory constraints were 8 megabytes because it was all 24-bit. And unlike later versions like System 7, where on some computers with sort of the dirty ROMs you could use mode 32, you didn't really have that option under System 6. So you could install 128 megabytes onto your Mac, and in System 6 it's only going to recognize version 8. It's only going to recognize 8 megabytes of that. Now there was a utility called Optima that allowed you to do 32-bit memory addressing under System 6, but the caveats for getting that thing to work are insane. If you have even one single init or control panel device that is not 32-bit clean, it won't work. You can't launch Multi-Finder because Multi-Finder wasn't 32-bit clean. And even on the one that I've been testing with here at the moment, even some versions of the Finder weren't 32-bit clean. So, so you just had to learn to live with 8 megabytes under System 6, as simple as that.
I mean, that's a heck of a lot of memory for back then.
Yeah, until you install Photoshop, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're like on a coming from a Mac Plus or something, that's
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, I've been playing around with System 6 a fair bit lately, and the situation where you go into Multi-Finder and then you open one application, and then all of a sudden your computer starts saying to you, "There's not enough memory to keep this window open," and then that closes, and then you try and do something else. There's not enough memory to open up that window. It's like, I've got so much memory installed in this thing. Just let me use it.
I only have one question about System 6. Can it play Unreal Tournament?
no.
It cannot.
No.
Then let's move on.
But it's worth mentioning that although, with a lot of applications that you might launch and they'll say it requires System 7 as a minimum, there are still a lot of really good, powerful applications that will run in it. I mean, you can run things like, you can run Quark Express version 3 in it. You can run Adobe Illustrator in it. You can run Photoshop in it. These are all applications that, we still know and use today. And you could use those earlier versions with, an incredible amount of functionality under System 6. And you can play Sid Meier's Civilization, so I'm fine.
Yeah. 6 is really where the Mac OS started coming into its own. It was still called System 6. They didn't call it Mac OS yet, but it's really where it started, especially in like the line of work that Bruce and I have background in printing and graphic design, that sort of thing. That's where your programs that still largely exist today, really, like you said, Photoshop and other ones like that, that's where they really started to become popular. So, and the fact that you could run them, supposedly you could run them all, several at once, was a big help.
All right, so we're ready to move on to System 7?
We are.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
System 7. You'll see this one's in color. I
can't see anything is that tiny. What's going on?
Huh?
Hey, try to keep our faces on there.
You can just
How can I doze up if I'm on camera? Come on.
Let's have a quick big view of it.
You guys are...
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Just stretch it.
Stretch
There it
it.
is.
Look at the colors.
Ooh, color.
Yay.
Yeah, that was
So
big.
much
That
color.
was big. And
This is actually a screenshot of 7.5, but it looks the same in 7.0 and 7.1.
Yeah, they all look the same.
Except
Yeah.
the Macintosh identifier would have been more accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question as a not knower of anything pre-OS 8. Has it always had the same structure of a system folder? You had your extensions folder. Have they always used that system? Extensions, control panels.
When it started, System 6 is where they started with, like, you always had a system folder starting with, what I think, 2.
Mm.
And then with
It was a
System
system
5,
file
that's when you
that.
started getting, like, the system folder with the suitcases and all that stuff, because that's when the HD20 came out.
Yeah.
And
System
HFS.
System 7 was the first one to actually introduce a dedicated control panel and extensions folder.
Yeah.
Up until that point in System 6, any control panels or extensions were basically just dropped straight into the root level of the system folder.
Yeah.
And when it came to, obviously, desk accessories and stuff, you needed to install them using Font DA Mover, and same with fonts. I mean, we had font management in System 6, so, if you had something like Suitcase running, that would save you from having to use Font DA Mover to copy fonts across into the system, which was a real pain in the backside. But 7 obviously introduced that what became familiar, that sort of general system structure that they kept right through until 9. So
I see.
So System 7 was a pretty huge update as far as not just adding color, but you had cooperative multitasking in System 7. So previously, you had the multi-finder in System 6, or not at all, like Bruce said. So System 7 kind of refined that system, that feature a little bit, but it also introduced personal file sharing. So you could share your files over the Apple Talk network.
I don't know if it's on this list. Sorry to interrupt you, but I recently heard from someone we know, and in a recent video, like an hour ago, that System 7 is incredibly easy to install.
when compared to other things.
it is for some.
Or does it in fact take 2 weeks and a whole lot of bitching?
No, if you got your ducks in a row, y'all good.
He was just looking for content for his videos. That was all.
Yeah, I did that on purpose. That's called a setup in the industry there.
And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, after the show is over, check out Steve's channel, where he has a a video he published today.
I want that week of my life back.
Some of the
in his defense, that was 7.6. So
yeah, that's right. I don't even know why he bothered with that. I just always stick with 7.5. But,
yeah, 7.1 for me installed like anything. It was fast. It was fine.
Some of the things that got introduced with System 7 that sort of were big things for me. Well, first of all, I don't think in System 6 you had the ability to search your hard drive. So System 7, although the search function was still pretty rudimentary in the early one, you could at least press Apple F, type in a word, and it would go through one at a time and bring up files, files on your drive that match that. That was a huge thing. One thing which I just take for granted, but if you're opening up a folder with a whole stack of files in it, and the file you're looking for starts with T or something, so you press the letter T and it scrolls down to a file that starts with T in the folder. Obviously something we use all the time and take for granted. That wasn't there in System 6, so they brought that in System 7. So that was a big sort of functionality change. And of course, another thing which was a really fun thing was the ability to do the custom icons on things.
Yes.
So, being able to have, little images as your folders. And I mean, because I'm sure we all know about all these collections are out there. You could get Star Wars icons and Star Trek icons and, cartoon icons and stuff like that.
Jay doesn't know what Star Trek and Star Wars is, so,
That's all right.
Yeah, I don't want Stargate, but I did have X-Files icons.
Stargate.
Well, the funny thing is a lot of the options, a lot of the things that we like in Mac OS 10 are actually started in System 7.
Yeah,
and they brought back some of that stuff.
They're still implemented to this day.
Yeah.
So.
The Apple menu originally, before System 7, was just for desk accessories, the DAs. And so then in System 7, they added the ability to put aliases and folders and other things like that in there, so there was like a shortcut. And
absolutely. And of course, aliases are another thing that got added.
Introduced in System 7.
Yeah, sorry.
Aliases were new. Yep.
Once again, that was a huge thing, being able to just put aliases on your desktop or whatever, to just double-click them and launch, whether it be a file or an application or whatever you wanted.
And another huge thing was AppleScript. They introduced AppleScript.
I do like AppleScript.
Yeah.
I think
now,
all of us like that.
Was System 7 they introduced true type fonts as well?
Let's see here. Yes, true type fonts. System 7, and then the ever popular Balloon Help.
Yeah.
Still
Did
better
that ever help anybody?
Better than
I hated Balloon Help.
I have no personal experience.
Is that just as bad as
7? But I did use it in high school, and that was just for the classes where we did Adobe apps, Quark, stuff like that. So I never had much interaction with the system itself, just with those apps. I can tell you that, at least in school, I never had, hang-ups or sudden restarts or stuff crashing. So from my limited experience, it was a pretty solid system.
Yeah, as far as stability goes, and moving toward a newer structure, as far as well, let's put it this way: System 7 started to pave the way to the 32-bit addressing system. So everything before that was 24-bit, and which you were talking about, Bruce, that's limited memory to 8 megabytes. So now, obviously this opened up all kinds of possibilities for upgrading the memory on these systems in the future. And so System 7 itself was 32-bit clean, but many existing machines at the time and applications were not. So it had to be able to handle both. But it says here, Macs no longer ran any version of system software as of version 7.6 as far as non-32-bit clean. So
now we're talking about System 7.5. Yes, GT, we know you're very bored right now.
Now, quick question: when you say 32-bit clean, why clean? What's dirty?
So just the whole notion of a non-32-bit ad is dirty to me.
Dirty. So
some of the early Macintoshes, although they had the ability to install more than 8 megabytes of RAM in them, the ROMs in them weren't properly made to address that. So what they call them 32-bit dirty ROMs, and some of the examples of that were things like the Macintosh SE30, that it had 32-bit dirty ROMs. You could get around it with a plug-in made by, I think it was Connectix, called what was it called? Mode 32. And of course these days you can go out and get yourself. Actually, even at the time, you could actually take a ROM sim from a newer Mac, like I think it was a 2SI, which had 32-bit clean ROMs. You could take the ROM sim out of a 2SI and put it into your SE30 to get 32-bit clean ROMs.
Gotcha. So is that where, and I might be mixing stuff up, but when I see you're using it on your stream, like the Rominator, is that a replacement that is clean?
Yeah. It is indeed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Gotcha.
So Dana, this is 7. Are we up to 7.5? I forgot.
The screenshot was 7.5, so yeah, we can go right to that.
We've just been talking sort of 7 collectively.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Because I mean, Bruce probably has a better memory of this than I do, but wasn't it around either 7.1 or 7.5 where they started integrating things in, like the super clock utility as a system clock and stuff like that? That Apple, there was like Windows Shade and all those things that were like freeware or shareware, and Apple just bought them. And
there are lots of examples of that. I mean, there was like sticky menus that I think came later, and that was like where you would press the menu. That, again, functionality like we would expect today. Single click to make the menu open rather than having to click and hold it to keep it open. But things like when you would go up to a menu and you would there would be a little arrow at the side to click on that to make another little menu pop out the side, and that was something that was available as an extension, and then they just incorporated that into the operating system further down. I mean, there were so many examples of people doing little extensions, and as Steve said, that Apple just incorporated these extensions in and just added them to future versions of the software. And it's a very interesting thing, because if you've sort of lived your life where there's always been a graphical user interface, you talk about minor changes here and there, but when you talk about the start of the graphical user interface, there are some amazing innovations that have gone on during that time, and new things being added, because, I mean, it was all just discovering these things for the first time.
Yep.
Things that they thought would be really, really good, people thought were really stupid, and things they didn't think would be used at all, became, sort of regular additions on things, so.
And QuickTime came out after System 7 or around the same time too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
There wasn't QuickTime for System 6, I don't think.
No, didn't we mention that last week or the week before, that QuickTime was born X amount of years ago?
Yeah,
we had it as a news item.
I think it was QuickTime 7.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I don't actually listen to the show, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
there were a number of major updates to System 7, and they all, I mean, this was really where they started gaining steam as far as adding more features and capability to the Mac OS at the time.
Now, quick question is, what versions of the Mac could actually run System 7?
Oh, plenty.
You were pretty much, if you had a Mac that still ran on a floppy disk, you were pretty much SOL.
So in other words, the original Mac was pretty much
the Mac. Yeah, the Mac Plus would run System 7.1, I think.
Yeah,
and 7.0
hard drive.
From the Plus up, as long as you had 2 megs of memory, and I'm pretty sure to get any remote functionality out of it, you were going to have a hard drive.
I mean, from my point of view, working with the Macs that I work with, the vintage of the Macs that I work with primarily, I have an external hard drive that I use to, boot up so that I can run checks on things and install systems and stuff like that. And I've gone in and done a bit of research on this, and System 7.1 probably covers the most of the models during that time. So System 7.1 is generally the system that I have on that drive that I can then sort of just boot up into anything. I mean, I have other systems on it as well, but generally 7.1 is the main go-to.
Yeah, you could technically run 7.5 on a Plus, but like Mike said, you probably need a hard drive for that. I mean, you'd be lucky if you could shove a system folder on there that is 7.5, but you wouldn't be able to do much with it.
Yeah.
Now, a quick question / plug. What would be a great system, 6 or 7, that would really shine on a, let's say, SCSI-2SD certain version number?
Bruce?
Well, are you asking about the system or the SCSI-2SD?
Well, both. I mean, some I don't know if it was like that back in those days, but certain, especially in the recent operating systems, starting with High Sierra, different versions of the operating system have a dramatic impact on read-write speed to the hard drive or SSD or something. So
this is a question that's sort of, it's a little bit like the should I buy a laptop question, in that it really does depend on what people are wanting to do. People ask me all the time, I've got this particular Mac, what operating system should I put on it? And of course you could come at it from a purely the perspective of speed. And I could say, okay, that Macintosh SE, I would run it on 608 or 7.01 because it's going to perform the best on that operating system, whether you've got a SCSI-2SD or a hard drive or whatever. But if that person then turns around and says, oh, you know what, I really want to get it on the internet, I would be more inclined to say, well, then you go with 7.5. It's going to crawl, but you'll be able to, tinker around with, silly web pages and stuff like that. So, it does definitely come down to what people want to do with these things. But from generally, I tend to go down the 7.1 path most of the time because it has most of the functionality that I want. One can be added onto it. I can connect it up to an Ethernet network. I can FTP things. I can. You can even put basic email clients and stuff on there. So I would generally go with 7.1 because it's a balance of speed, speed and functionality. But yeah, it does depend. I mean, some people just, they want to just go straight for the highest operating system they possibly can on everything.
Right. So it's a bit more of a complicated question than I thought it was. But if people say, SCSI-2SD, rings a bell, sounds familiar, I don't know what the hell it is, where would they go to find out more about these things?
Oh, there's some guy that did a video about it, right?
Yeah. There's a bunch of videos, a couple of videos on the subject on this guy's YouTube channel. He even went and found out which ones were fastest. So kind of desperately trying to get this link so that I can plug it.
Oh, I could have done that.
Wow!
I gave you a whole 5 minutes to prepare for this, man. Come on.
Kate says some guy with a beard and glasses, that really narrows it down here.
Yeah. Although I did recently remove mine, so guess I'm out.
Yeah, I don't have mine here either, so that's only...
Jay, you still have a little bit of one.
Yeah.
It's starting to grow back, but I shaved, I trimmed my head like buzz cut, took all this off, and my wife is like, wow, you look 12. So, okay, last time I'm doing that.
So Wendy wants to know, so what's dirty? Am I missing all the fun?
So also, I think 7.1, and this is from the Wikipedia page, and I'm not sure what the method was before, but there's a quote in here. In August of 1992, the columnist David Pogue, who wrote like the Macworld Secrets books and everything, said it was the first version of the system software that Apple charged for. So 7.1, you had to pay $50 for an Apple, eventually backed down, and there was a user upgrade kit that was less than $30. But ouch.
Yeah. Several years there. It was pretty expensive to update. But one of the coolest things about that a lot of people don't know is that there was a project called Project Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
Where the Apple and Novell got together to port System 7 to x86 machines. So they were trying to go to Intel a long time before Apple actually switched to Intel as far as the software goes. But apparently it was really controversial within Apple, and it got canceled.
Jean-Louis Gasset and Scully said no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a little bit of subject matter expertise on that subject.
Nice work, guys, but no.
Yeah. And it's funny because the one guy that Scully said, "Yeah, sure, go investigate that." Like 3 or 4 times he brought it up with an Apple, and it was like years apart, and he eventually just left.
So are we ready to move on to our next OS?
One thing I want to mention about 7.5, it was the first one to be called Mac OS. There you go.
Well, I thought that was 8.
Nope.
Was it?
They started calling it kind of Mac OS. It didn't actually become an official thing.
7.5.
All right, we're no longer on 5. Let's move on.
Just give me a second, dude. 7.5.1 was the first one that said Mac OS because they were preparing for the clones. That's all I wanted to say, GT.
Okay.
Oh yeah, here it is, Mac OS 7.5.1.
Now it's
anything with the 7. I still called it System 7 at the time.
Now I'm starting to wake up. OS 8.
OS 8. So
OS 8 was a disaster, but 8.1 fixed it all.
Yeah, you're talking 8.0 was a disaster.
Yes.
Yeah.
The original version 8 was a disaster, but 8.1 fixed all the problems.
Oh, what a difference 8 makes.
And then 8.6 just totally refined the entire operating system. 8.6 should have been its own version, to be honest with you. It was such an improvement. But
one of the first things you notice when you look at that picture, of course, just from the perspective of what's being promoted in that image, is of course the web browser.
Yeah,
and the web browser.
Cyberdog.
The world be changing.
Cyberdog was such a good idea.
Yeah, the internet was starting to become a big thing, and it started becoming implemented more and more in 7.6, but it really kind of gained its main traction with 8, and that was actually, I think, one of the biggest selling points of 8 was the ease of getting on the internet with it. So
because you had the TCP control panel in 7.1, but 7.5 and later versions of 7.5 and then 7.6 had TCP IP control panel, which made it worlds easier, and of course 8 adopted that too. So.
And they also
I don't miss it, but messing around with, what was it called? PPPoE?
Yeah.
For DSL was PPPoE, and then you had
I never have to do that again.
Yeah.
Dude, I used to hate that. Even under a Windows system, it sucked.
Yes. Point-to-point protocol. Oh, my God.
Just the configuration of it was a pain.
Yeah, it was
especially if you had dial-up, because you had to put in the phone number of your dial-up system, and then
with commas and all the other
stuff. Commas for people who don't know, if you had so
your modem would dial
into the service, and once it connects, then there's a handshaking period where basically the modem has to pause, and so if you're using the PPP control panel, you had to put in a comma for every 1 second that it had to pause in order to do the handshaking, so that the software didn't try continuing on before the handshaking was done. It was such a pain in the butt.
And you had to kind of guess how amount of time it was, because it was a pain.
Yeah, you had to basically trial and error it until it worked.
It wasn't only Macs that you had that problem with. It was also Windows too, because
it was any system that is anything you were using that used that protocol.
Yeah, PPP. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God! I used
didn't matter what you used it on, Unix, AIX.
In fact, the first time I ever used it was OS2 Warp. That's when that's back when I was using OS2 Warp, was when my first experience with PPP came out, and I was like, oh, this sucks.
So some notable features about OS 8 upgrades. 8.1 was the last version to run on Macintosh computers with a Motorola 68000 family processor.
As a tear rolls down my cheek.
And it's also the earliest version that can run Carbon applications.
That Carbon lib.
8.5 was the first version of macOS to run only on PowerPC processors. And it was the first version to include Sherlock as a search tool.
And didn't it have? I'm sorry if you're going to get to that, but wasn't this the first one with like the full appearance control panel with themes and things like that? I know 8 had a little bit of that, but I think this was like the full-fledged.
Yeah, that they don't mention that specifically here, but that does ring a bell. Yeah.
Because the 8.2 beta I played around with has tons of themes, and we sort of got only a little bit of that in 8.5.
I have to go walk away and grab a drink, but before I go, I just want to mention real quick that we have 30 people watching and only 9 likes. It's a disgrace, and I would like to see a different number there when I return.
Come on, Bruce. What do you say?
Smash that like button.
You have to click the like button the amount of times you enjoy a particular version of the macOS. So just keep clicking.
Well, yeah, okay. You click it twice, and you click it twice, and you unlike it. So
all right, click it an odd amount of times, and you're good. There's logic somewhere.
Bruce, here you go.
All right, so is that it with 8? Are we ready
Smash that like button.
There you go.
The only other thing to say is that 8.6 is probably one of the best versions of macOS to ever exist, and especially for the older machines and PowerPC machines.
And if you're running an old PowerPC Mac, 8.6 is, unless you're running a PowerPC 601, then you're just an idiot. But 8.6 is the best thing to run on a power.
But Steve, wasn't this the last version that would run on the clones too?
No.
Legally, there was 7.
8.1 was legally the last version that some clone machines would run on, but you could just change some things and have anything run on them. They weren't that.
I think the clones all went up to 9.1, I believe.
Yeah, you could get them a little higher, but it's a pain.
But legally is what I'm saying.
Legally, 2 clone manufacturers were signed on for 8 officially.
Okay. So, you obviously with people saying that 8.6 is the best, operating system there. What's the criteria for that? What makes it the best?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me is there was an update, and maybe your notes show it there, Dana. There was some update to the multiprocessors, the kernel or something like that. There was something that was just available to. Yeah, that was it. That just made it much better and smoother.
8.5 is also, or 8.6, excuse me, is also the one that introduced preemptive multitasking.
Mm-hmm.
So you could actually have an app running something in the background for the first time, and it actually would work properly.
Yeah, and System 8 was the first one where if you had a dialog box going, you could actually, you were copying files, you could click on the Finder and go do something else.
Yeah.
You didn't have to sit and wait for that.
That was a big step.
Yeah, it was huge. I remember the first time I'm like, oh my gosh, you can do multiple things.
That was awesome, and the stability of the system in general was just
very
out of this world.
Yep.
I will put a Mac, let's say a G3 Blue and White or a Yikes G4 with 8.6 on it versus a Catalina or Big Sur Mac any day, and it will run longer without crashing or anything. I'll put money on it.
Yep. My PowerBook 3400 ran for, I ran 8.6 on it for at least 10 years. And the only reason I ever upgraded to OS 9 was the Power Manager board died, and I swapped it out with a new one. And I was like, I'm going to try OS 9 on here, and that was a mistake. So I went back to 8.6.
I made that same mistake, Dana. I went from 8.6 to 9.2 on my workgroup server 8550, and I freaking regretted it every day I used that machine. It was, and that thing had a G3 350 in it, and it was still slow. And that thing used to scream under 8.6.
At least 8.6 was a free update, which was nice. And I don't remember using it back then, but Sherlock 2 or something like that was in 8.6. I forget when the first version of that, maybe 8.5 was.
I never really used it either. It was there. It was nice. It was an all-inclusive. It searched your computer plus the internet at the same time, But truthfully, it was a resource hog. I never really cared for it.
The later versions of 9, which we'll get to, when you have that brushed
what
metal,
are we talking about?
It take forever
like
to load
Sherlock.
up the damn thing.
Yeah,
that's what I said. Yeah,
Sherlock.
Sherlock was amazing.
No S, Jay.
Well, I'm busy in the chat. I'm trying not to ignore our audience.
Stop feeling up the chat, Jay.
Over there, so I'm back to.
Stop feeling it up.
Well, basically, to sum up 8.6, here's the paragraph that's on the wiki. It says 8.6 introduced the concept of a nanokernel to the Mac OS, which allowed for multitasking and multiprocessors. This free update for Mac users running 8.5 and 8.5.1 was faster, much more stable than either versions of 8.5, and is by many considered the most stable classic OS. It was also the first Mac to have the OS version displayed as part of the OS startup screen.
That's right.
Many hardware upgrades require a minimum of OS 8.6. So, yeah, it was a big deal for OS 8.
I was on
for OS in
8.6
general.
for a long time. I had multiple partitions, so when 9, 902, 904, 9.1, all those versions came out, I put them on a different partition, and to test drive it pretty much, I always ended up going back to 8.6, and I was on 8.6 until pretty much OS 9.2 was well into being established, So
Yeah.
a long time.
I remember that my dad had the same thing because he had I forget what machine it was, but no, that's right, it was the G4. So the G4 shipped with 8.6. That's what it shipped with, and it was a great machine. But then he had to do something for work, and some software required 9. And thankfully, he got a new hard drive and installed it on the separate hard drive. Because after a week of using 9, he was like, "This is horrible. Everything keeps crashing." It was like 904, and it was like.
Well, we've got a dedicated fan tonight. Tim is in the hospital.
Typing with only a left thumb.
Yes, I saw his tweet. Get well soon, Tim.
Well, yeah, feel better soon. I don't know what the problem is, but I hope everything's okay.
Yeah.
If you're watching Mac Yak, we know at least mentally he's still there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that.
I was gonna say I wouldn't know about that. I think you're mentally
you could do a lot worse.
Well, according to Sean, and only 5-year-olds like this show, so I don't know.
Well, Sean is a 5-year-old, So.
That's true. That's why I said. That's why we invited him on. Appeal to our younger audience.
No, it's our youngest good looks.
Yeah. All right, so we're ready to move on to our next OS.
OS 9.
There we go.
It sounded like you were just like, 9.
That was me. I was groaning. The 9.2 isn't bad, but
yeah,
God, I just
What about 9?
OS 9 was just.
What about OS 9 lives 9.22?
Well, it evolved into a good operating system, but it started out as a really sucky one.
Yeah, it did.
I just want to.
It took a lot of updates to OS 9 to get it to where it should have been.
Yeah.
Just imagine how much screaming came out of Steve Jobs' mouth, at the engineers to improve this darn thing. I mean, he held a funeral for the OS for damn reason.
Well, OS 9 really wasn't supposed to exist.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 8.7. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they were supposed to update OS 8 again, and then the whole OS 10 thing wasn't materializing as fast as it should have been, and
so it sort of became like a marketing decision, didn't it?
Yeah, it really was. It was a marketing decision.
Well, it got rid of the clones too, didn't it? I mean, the legality of they didn't have to pay.
Well, 8.1 was written into the agreements, I believe, GT. So anything higher than, because that's what screwed up with 7, because Apple just said whatever version of this. So 8 was supposed to be 7.7, but Apple said, let's make it number 8, so then we'll have to rewrite the contracts. When they rewrote them, they were very specific of things. So
Gotcha.
So what OS 9 introduced? Let's see.
It introduced a lot of bugs.
It introduced a brushed metal interface for things like Sherlock and QuickTime. So whenever you would open the damn applications, your video card would be pegged for like 15 seconds as the window would redraw slowly.
Yeah.
And it also broke after dark, so nobody cared.
We skipped over something. When were the platinum sounds introduced? Because that is worth noting.
8.
That's what the appearance.
Platinum sounds came with the Platinum theme, so that was OS 8. Yeah.
So I vaguely remember, I don't know if this is right, but at some stage during 9 they introduced like protected memory, I think, didn't they? So
yes.
When one application crashed, you could just force quit that application.
That was actually one of the
theory.
Well, supposedly with 9.
Supposedly.
Yeah, it was supposed to get rid of all the system crashing bombs, but it didn't always work that way.
Yeah, just like 7.6 claims to get rid of most of the Type 10 errors and stuff.
Yeah,
I've still seen them.
But part of that also has to do with the applications you're running. If you're running older applications that can't handle the protected memory properly, then it's going to still crash the whole system. But the operating system itself wasn't supposed to crash the system.
It's one of the things that I keep sort of thinking about, when I'm just sort of reminiscing, that we have become so spoiled these days with operating systems that don't crash. When working with these things, back in the day, they crashed all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just part of life.
Unless you had 8.6.
Yeah. I have very little. I've been using Macs professionally since like 1989, and I have very little memory of 8 at all. I mean, I remember we got it with a lot of the clones that we had. I think we got the 8 installer with it, and I know we used it, but it didn't leave a lasting impression on me. I have no idea why.
Actually, one thing that worked really well in 8.6. That was my first OS, by the way. That came with the G3. I don't have any experience before that. But on 8.6, if you wanted to force quit something, most of the time it actually did that. Force quit whatever was hung up, and you would still have to restart within 10 minutes because the system kind of bogged down. Right. But on OS 9,
it was the opposite.
Guaranteed. You force quit, that force quit screen is there to stay because the whole system is locks up.
I almost bought a CRT once, Jay, when I was looking for the Blueberry CRT. And upon closer inspection, the force quit dialog was burned into the screen.
I'm not even surprised.
And I'm like, ooh, no thanks. That's a sign.
That is an indication, isn't it? That is so funny.
I just remember
piss off Crazy Tech Reviews. He was already angry about the ticking, and I would start singing.
I don't even hear it ticking.
Me neither.
I hear the cuckoo, but yeah.
It's probably going off. This blue snowball is not supposed to be picking it up because it's not really pointed.
It's 9 o'clock, and we're at OS 9, so we'll be done with this stream around midnight.
Yeah. It's a good thing I'm off tomorrow.
We're just grouping OS 10 into one.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because of the challenge, we're only going to
all into one because the first 3 versions of OS 10 sucked, and the next 2 were great.
Well, I mean, we'll get to that, but I don't entirely agree.
Yeah, I don't either.
We'll get there.
All right,
now,
so Crazy Tech Review, there you go.
OS 9 is the only one that had the notoriety of having its own funeral.
Yeah,
Steve Jobs did a funeral at WWDC in 2002, and he delivered a mock funeral dressed all in black. Of course, he had his black turtleneck, but he had a big coffin containing an oversized retail OS 9 box, and they were basically saying, "Look, we've stopped all development of OS 9." Because OS 10 was on its way, and by that point, everybody. I think OS 10 was already out, but
it was a. I mean, it's still. What year did you say that was, Dana?
2002.
Yeah, 2002. I mean, it was still pretty early for. I mean, they not that they jumped the gun on it because that was 10.1. So it was still. It was like obviously they were pushing 10.1, but I mean, looking back though, it still seemed like it was. Apple was obviously they wanted to push 10 so much.
Oh yeah.
But it just seemed like it wasn't. To me, 10 wasn't real ready until 10.2, 10.3. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And
because the other thing is that I had so many applications at the time that were under OS 9 and never got that update to run in OS 10. Yeah. that I was still finding myself in OS 9 a lot, and still finding myself in OS 9 today to play applications that I want, play games or use applications that I want to use that never got the update to version 10. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, although there might have System 9 might have had a funeral, I mean, I've still got it installed on this G5 here. So
yeah. A lot of people still use OS 9 even today. Like,
and also you got the classic version. You get the classic if you use Tiger, so up to Tiger.
Yeah, Panther and Tiger.
The same way it took me a while to go from 8.6 to 9.2. It took me a very long time, or at least in my memory, it was a long time to go from 9.2 to 10.4, or actually 10.3.9 was the first OS 10 I started taking serious. But before that, it's like, try it. Test it, crash, nope, go back.
But you also got to look at it, too. A lot of the good classic Mac games ran on anything, on 9, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the games I like to play a lot of is Civilization 2. And that,
as long as you had that Carbon Lib 1.6, you would be good.
Yep. Well, Jay, I'll beat you there because it took me 15 years to move to Mac OS 10. I was running Mac OS 9.2.2 up until 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, what was it? Last week you messaged me and said, wow, OS 10 can do bigger resolution than 800 by 600?
Yeah, I mean, I was also fairly resistant to move to 10, and that has a lot to do with the fact that I worked in an industry where there were deadlines and stuff involved. And so you weren't going to be messing around with an operating system with, so a new operating system with new, new system, new applications and stuff like that. It's just too risky. I mean, you stick with what you know, you stick with what's reliable, and sort of that's part of your workflow and stuff like that. So it was quite a while before I moved on to System 10 back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, go ahead.
Before we show the next screen, it's worthy of note that System 7 and I think OS 8, I haven't been to it in a while, but OS 8 and OS 9 all have their own dedicated websites where people are still finding ways to use these old OSs even today. I think System 7 is called System 7 Today. I forget what the OS 8 one is, and then of course there's Mac OS 9 Lives. So there's a lot of people out there still, and even as far as in the business that I come from, certain CNC machines are still running OS 9 based software. They have newer software, but it's so expensive that a lot of people just stick with the old and keep running OS 9 on it.
No, don't do it.
What does it say?
Don't update.
14.3, mine did that today.
Well, Brock was asking at the start of the show, has anyone updated? I said, yep, because everything else updated. My watch updated, my TV updated, but my phone wasn't updated yet. So
my phone updated today, but I don't know what the heck they did to it.
I didn't even know there was an update.
I didn't know either because I don't have automatic updates turned on. So
I don't either, but I plugged it in. I was like, yeah, what the heck?
Oh, there is an update. So
I think the one thing that early OS 10 versions kicked, and then Apple finally reintroduced, I think it was in Jaguar, was the spring-loaded folders. Because on OS 9 you had that where you drag a folder over another folder, you wait a second and it popped up.
Yeah.
I think 10.1 didn't have that, and then I think in Jaguar they brought it back. And they actually mentioned it like during the keynote.
I have never liked that feature.
I can't live without it.
All right,
I love spring-loaded folders.
So we're moving on to OS 10.
Yes. Please. This is let's see, is this this is the public beta. Yeah. I actually included a copy of that because look at the Finder window there with all the big tiles at the top. That was the only place where you saw that. I don't think that was in Cheetah.
As much as I despised Internet Explorer, I could not stop looking at that icon.
I know.
It was awesome.
It was one of the prettiest icons in the whole OS. I mean, you look at a lot of the icons as far as your classic Mac apps, your classic apps are unchanged. But as far as the new OS 10 stuff, it was just like, Steve called it lickable. I think on one of
he wasn't lying either. I licked my screen many a time without anyone looking.
Yeah. All right, so
that was the only one with those big launcher style buttons.
Yeah,
Because when I installed 10.0, I'm just looking at a screenshot. They got rid of the button.
Yeah, they did. Well, I kind of liked them too, but I remember installing the beta on my I think it was Blue and White G3. Yeah. And
and the centered apple at the that's right. They were experimenting with moving the apple menu.
Yes. Those were the two big changes, but I loved the new icons, and I loved hardly any of the software work that I tried to install.
Yeah, I think I tried it for 30 minutes before I went back to OS 9 quick.
Yeah. I said, well, okay, this is going to be an experiment for when I have free time at work. So that's pretty much what I used it for. And I still have the install, the disk and the box and everything for the public beta. So I just thought that was neat, especially with the Apple menu being up there. Now this is Cheetah. So this is 10.0. And you can see where they updated the Finder window to look a lot more like than it looks even today still.
Mm-hmm.
So
I should mention
column views.
This version 10.04, nothing worked. Like not a single piece of software was compatible. So it was pretty much unusable. But all the system applications were rock solid.
Yeah.
I could never get it to crash with Sherlock or QuickTime or whatever. Any of that stuff was flawless. It's just that there was not a single piece of third-party software that worked. So again, I went back to OS 9.
Yep, and there's a reason why 10.1 was a free update.
Yeah. No kidding.
all right.
But obviously everybody knows that OS 10 introduced the whole new file system, and everything's based on FreeBSD and Unix and all that good stuff. So
look at that iTunes.
I think 10.1 was probably the first one that I bothered to install, and 10.2 was probably when I really started to sort of get into use it and start using it regularly. But yeah, the really big difference, in particular if you had a computer with more than one processor, was that you were starting to take advantage of that multi-processor speed. Just because if you're running an OS 9, whether you have a single processor or a multi-processor, it made no difference unless you were running an application that would utilize that. Photoshop had some plugins that would. I was using some 3D software that when you rendered images, it would use multi-processors for that. But with OS 10, it was starting to utilize those multi-processors in just a lot of tasks, just general OS tasks, and that was a really big thing. That made the multi-processor computers sort of instantly more usable, faster, more worthy. And I mean, I remember when I was doing sort of a fair bit of 3D work at the time, and I would set up a whole bunch of computers as render stations in a render farm for grid computing, and I would run them all. They were all running on OS 9. And then these were computers that weren't meant to natively run OS 10, but you could with ex post facto. And I installed OS 10 on these and immediately got 1,000 times better stability on these things. I mean, when they were running as a render farm before, these things would just crash constantly. And you have to go down and restart that one, and you reallocate whatever it was doing. And they would just crash all the time. And then I just changed over to OS 10. You wouldn't use OS 10 on these, sort of for a normal user experience, but with them just grinding away at 3D stuff in the background, they just immediately, they stopped crashing as soon as I put 10 on them.
Yeah, I remember saving up and buying 10.1. That was the first version I bought. And installing it on my iBook. I didn't know what memory was back then, so I installed it on my Keyline 466 iBook. Had 96 megs of memory, I think. And I installed it. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then I tried to do something on it. It's like, you're running low on memory. I'm like, oh, that's okay. And it crashed soon after.
All I remember is that it took me days to download 10.1. Took me days. I was on dial-up, dude.
That's the screen that's up now is 10.1 Puma. Puma was still $130, but it says here had better performance and provided missing features such as DVD playback. So didn't OS 9 have DVD playback?
Yeah, that's the thing.
But-
Apple axed some of those applications
Yeah.
to just ship it on time.
OS 10 didn't have it until 10.1, which is funny.
Yeah, no one will miss it.
Nope.
So next was Jaguar. And Jaguar had the distinction of being the first version of OS 10 or any OS to come on 2 CDs. Where like before it was kind of shades of old OS or System 7 installs where it's like install disk 1, install disk 2 and 3, 4, 5 all the way up to whatever it was and
it
then,
came with 4 discs in the box because you got the developer tools and you got OS 9.
Right. So
Now,
the actual
just occurred to me here. When did iTunes start? Because that started in 9, didn't it? Or was it only a 10?
9, yeah.
It is a 9.
Yeah, it was 9. Yeah, because they bought Sound Jam.
Mm.
Yeah, Sound Jam was the original code for iTunes, and Sound Jam was great because you could it was quick. It would run on it could run on 601 machines, but you didn't want to do anything else other than listen to music. It ran better on 603s and 604s, but you could the thing that was cool about Sound Jam was you could skin it. And there were just tons and tons of people creating skins, and it could look like it could fit in the top corner of your screen and look like it was part of the OS, or it could be like this big blob-looking thing in the middle of your screen. Whatever you wanted it to look like, there was a skin for it, and it was great. And so when I found out that Apple had bought Sound Jam, they're like, we're gonna turn this into iTunes. I was like, great, because we can skin it. And then iTunes came out and had one look, and it was ugly as crap. And I said, ugh.
No,
I loved iTunes though. I don't know when it started. I think it already had this in OS 9. Is where if you didn't have your own music or you didn't want to put CDs in your Mac the whole time, you had this tab called Internet Radio, and it's like, whoa, mind blown. I was listening to radio from all over the world. That was awesome.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I love that. And I suppose it's still there, but now it's the part of the Apple Store, and
they got rid of most of it.
Very little of it's free anymore, so
it's severely crippled.
Yeah.
By System 10.2, I think where I was working at the moment, we were pretty much all changed over by that stage. I think we had a couple of applications, like RIPs, raster image processors for printers and that might have still been running on OS 9. So we'd have a few computers that were still having to run 9, because we couldn't upgrade them, but not without spending loads of money on the software. But I think in general, in the overall production, I think we were all using System 10 by 10.2. So that's definitely, it was obviously coming into its own by that stage.
I tried it. It was an improvement, but not all of the software I was using at the time was available.
It was a long transition.
I didn't have the resources, the memory and all that to run Classic inside 10.2. So back to 9.2 I went.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but around this
booted for the longest time.
Around this time, a lot of applications were slowly making their way to OS 10. So I remember like AOL Instant Messenger was something I used a lot, and it was only on 9, and they had a beta for OS 10, but that beta didn't have like all the features. You couldn't send messages with images or whatever. So you had to, use the classic version. But like Bruce was saying, around since 10.1 was like the real first one that was actually kind of usable. 10.2 was like, okay, Apple's going in this direction. You might as well develop apps for it because this is where they're going. But the same issue that Bruce was saying, my father ran a RIP server on his G4, and that we had 9 running all the time because it needed to do that for the printer.
Yeah, and probably the most notable introductions with Jaguar was Quartz Extreme, the address book, and iChat.
iChat, yeah.
iChat was the first one for the first version with iChat, yeah.
And they actually had a iChat AV beta for Jaguar that they discontinued, of course, because they wanted you to buy Panther.
Yeah, yes, that's true.
And also today, it was with a later version, iChat AV, I think the discussion came up last year, says, hey, if you have OS X server, you can set up your own iChat server. And we never did that.
No.
So I think this time
Especially we're all going to be using PowerPC Macs.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, that's true.
Mike is like, the hell you guys thinking about? You guys are crazy. Just need a 5-wire camcorder. You're good.
Come on, Mike. You know you're going to participate in the PowerPC challenge, right?
I got the iMac already.
Good. Awesome.
Is that the prototype one?
Yeah.
Ah, okay, cool.
It's the most powerful PowerPC machine I own, so might as well do something with it.
Excuse me, I
Otherwise,
thought you were going to use an Apple III.
No, Steve's going to use an Apple III.
No,
Madeline will be so upset.
If I used an Apple III, I think that video I released would have been 20 days long.
Yep. All right, so we ready to go on to our next version?
Panther.
All right, there we go.
I always loved the install disk image for the actual printed image on the disk for Panther. It was the big silver X, but it was kind of it had serifs. It was kind of Roman looking, very Roman looking.
Yeah, very
I always
sleek.
liked that.
And this is where Jay switched away from OS 9.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. I was dual booting with Jaguar up until Panther, and then by that point, pretty much everything worked pretty well, either in classic mode or OS 10. So I think that's when I finally made the switch completely.
Yeah.
But we got, of course, performance improvements, which was common throughout all of the early OS 10 updates. But then we got more brushed metal interface, which I hated. Expose, the window manager. That was the first version with that.
Oh,
I didn't mind the brushed metal all that much, to be honest.
I just couldn't stand it. It was so just big. I didn't care.
What messed me up is that when you had a Finder window in brushed metal, if you would resize it just right, the brushed metal would kind of glitch out. So it pissed me off so bad.
But we also got the first versions of File Vault and Safari and iChat AV, which added video conferencing to iChat,
which was unusable.
Almost as bad as group FaceTime, right?
It was worse. It was worse. Oh yeah, iChat AV. I think I knew one person that had a Mac at the time because everybody was PC, especially people in school and all that. And yeah, my dial-up just wouldn't have it.
I knew somebody, but we were both too shy to show our faces. so it's like, yeah, you can video chat. You can see.
Well, you can always go Action Retro on and say, "Oh, it's working."
But yeah, I would show them an old computer or something. I wouldn't show my face.
Yeah. So
anything else
about Panther was the first version to not work on the beige G3s. I think that they got left behind with Jaguar. And same with the Wall Street and I don't know if the Pismos worked in 10.3. Yeah, you can put 10.3 on a Pismo, but not a Wall Street. So, yep.
I like 10.3.
I did too.
Yeah,
really did.
10.3 was nice.
I have very limited experience with 10.3, but it does seem like a solid operating system.
It was same as OS 9 and same as pretty much every OS. It started off crap and it evolved pretty nicely.
And was 10.3 the first when Apple produced a server version of the software as well? Or was it?
No,
was
they did it from the start.
10.0.
Was the start?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't realize that. 10.3 was the first time I was exposed to the server version of it. So.
It's when the server version was still good. And then we go to Tiger.
This is like the best operating system, I think, out of all of these. Hands down.
Yeah. I still don't like the brush metal, but
although it had one fatal flaw, and I don't like mentioning anything bad about Tiger, but Spotlight was a disaster.
Oh yeah, it
was a disaster.
Yeah.
I think that's the only black mark on the entire operating system, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And even today, Tiger came out when? That was 2000.
2005?
2005, April 29th.
We're now in 2020.
2005.
We're almost in 2021, and Spotlight still sucks. It starts re-indexing. It loses files.
The first thing I do when I get a new system installed is disable Spotlight. I hate it, especially when in InDesign, which I use pretty often. If you're going to zoom in on something, the keyboard shortcut is Command Spacebar. Well, that's what they chose for Spotlight too. So I'm like, screw that, turn that crap off. I don't want it. I use that in InDesign a lot more than anything else.
And I think the 10.4 had a fun little music intro when you installed it too, didn't it?
Yes.
That was
that we cannot play on here because YouTube will.
Yeah, you'll get
strike us.
That's right. But that was fun. That was a kind of nice little reward after sitting and waiting for the install to happen.
Yes, because it does take forever to install.
It does.
Yeah,
but
what was it?
I'll still sit there and watch that.
It's worth it.
4 CDs.
4 CDs or 1 D. It was the first one to be released on DVD.
Yeah, I have it burnt on 4 CDs. So
I actually have a retail copy of OS 10 Tiger, which is kind of odd.
Yeah, so you turn your camera on, maybe we can see
it.
Your camera's been off for a while.
But this is the only version of the old PowerPC OS that I own.
Yep.
And my stepdaughter actually bought this for me for an Intel MacBook.
That's right, because that's when
I learned that there was 2 different versions of the software.
Yeah.
And I never actually got to use this until I got back into Macs about 5 years ago, and I installed it on a G5. And I've been using it ever since. And it's the best operating system. I didn't like OS 10 until I started using Tiger.
And it's the last operating system in 10 that can actually use classic mode.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that's actually one of the reasons that I like it.
Yeah.
And especially it's the last one to have a good disk utility.
Especially if you're using it on a G5, because G5s can't boot OS 9 at all.
Exactly.
Right.
There's ways to make them work on G4s that aren't supported, but you cannot make it work on a G5 no matter what you do.
Yep.
Right.
So
if anyone is going to use Tiger or Leopard, hopefully not, in the upcoming PowerPC challenge, if you want to disable Spotlight because it slows your system down and it sucks in general.
Yeah.
At the time, there used to be an app called Quicksilver that would kind of take over from Spotlight and do a much better job. So if you're going to go into this challenge and you use Spotlight a lot, try out Quicksilver.
Well, I am actually going to be running Tiger on my.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
So.
Yeah. Ahead of things here.
Hey, we're to a point where I can talk a little bit because the rest of it was.
Oh, you could have talked.
Hour and a half of GT just sitting there, falling asleep.
Some of the features that Tiger introduced, obviously, Spotlight, dashboard, smart folders, which I never really got into smart folders. I never learned too much about them.
No, me neither.
And then, of course, OS 10 Mail was updated with smart mailboxes. QuickTime 7, Safari 2, Automator, the first version with Automator, Core Image, Core Video, and it notes here that the initial release of the Apple TV used a modified version of Tiger.
Yep.
So,
now, wasn't Server the last one done and it was on Tiger? Did they have a Leopard version of OS Server?
Oh, yeah.
I think they went all the way up to
Snow Leopard.
Oh, did they?
It wasn't until Lion where the server became a standalone app, and ever since it's been sucking ass.
And wasn't and 10.4.4 of Tiger, I believe, was the first Intel build publicly released with Intel Macs it shipped with.
So Tiger is widely considered one of the most stable versions of Mac OS.
Because they developed it right. They weren't on this yearly release schedule of, we must go to the next one now. 10.4.11.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, and just to let you know, too, that if you do decide to install Tiger, Apple still provides the updates. So you could still update it.
That is something that Microsoft does not do.
Yeah.
And you can sit there through the 12 different versions of Java updated.
Yeah.
8. Only 8. Don't exaggerate now.
I actually went and downloaded each thing, and I have it on my computer now, so I don't have to actually, just in case Apple does decide to ever get rid of that, I have each one separated.
Yeah. We know they could do it any day, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, make sure you also install like the iLife apps, because those updates won't install unless you have those installed. And there's a tricky few updates for like iPhoto where if you download the wrong one, the app is basically hosed.
Yeah. Yeah, my Tiger folder, I keep every operating system. Tiger is 20 gigabytes. That includes the Intel installers, PowerPC installers, combo updates, all the software updates, including all the Java updates. Because I think it was only a year ago, or maybe it's been 2 years already, when suddenly Panther was unable to get software updates. So since then, I started kind of collecting them.
Yeah.
I think they announced just the other day or just today that Big Sur, they're not putting the updates on Apple's website anymore. It's only through software update.
Well, you got to remember the newest version, and this is kind of off topic a little bit, but even Catalina, you can't update. You have to update through the.
I thought you could still install updates.
Yeah, but if you go to apple.com/downloads, you can still buy them standalone DMGs installers. But Big Sur, because yesterday or 2 days ago they released a bunch of updates, I couldn't find that one.
Yeah.
So now what I've been doing for updates that I've missed is I run a macOS server that has software update service installed as well. So it grabs all the packages from Apple servers, and I snatch them out of there to save them on my hard drive.
Smart.
You can't find them on the website.
Stupid.
That's nice to know.
So according to this, Tiger was released on April 29th, 2005, which was about a year and a half after Panther. So they did spend about 6 extra months, according to going by their previous release dates,
and
perfecting
Leopard,
it and getting to work on it.
Leopard, I think they took longer because of the iPhone.
Right. The iPhone came out, and so Tiger was one of the longest lasting current OS releases because of that. So because
of the iPhone, we ended up with one of the most stable OS 10 versions ever.
That's one way to look at it.
But
because Leopard came out October 26th, 2007, so it was well over 2 years later.
All right, well, just like last year, there's no need to get into 10.5 Leopard because it sucks. So
we said we're going to go up through 10.5 because it's the last
one nice thing about it.
It's the last PowerPC release.
All right, so here we go.
It technically fits into the
job security. Leopard got me a lot of work because it sucked so bad, especially Time Machine and all that stuff failing.
The only thing I really liked about Leopard was that they got rid of brush metal and the dock looks cooler. It's slow otherwise. Like if you have a 1 gigahertz G4, you run Tiger on it and it's like crap through a goose. But then you put Leopard on there, and it's just slow and
well, I mean, I'm gonna tell you something on my
resource.
Power Mac G5. I run Leopard on there, and I don't have a problem with it. In fact, it runs actually pretty smooth on there.
On G5s, it runs a lot better. Yeah.
And I think it might be the Intel version is probably the sucky version, but.
Well, it's no, the PowerPC version as well.
Yeah, they both suck.
You have to use it at the time where you were actually using it as your daily driver with all the software of the time and stuff to see how bad it sucked. Like now, doing these PowerPC challenges and stuff, you're not really going to run into most of the stuff that makes it suck so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Being that they were transitioning to Intel, Leopard was the first OS to include Boot Camp.
Yeah. Well, it's also the first version of the operating system to be natively Intel ready too. Because Tiger, they introduced the Intel machines partway through Tiger's life, so they actually had to update. They actually updated Tiger to run on Intel Macs.
Yep.
And truthfully, I don't think Tiger runs that great on Intel Macs. It was okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I could have been using I only had one experience. First of all, it was a Core Duo MacBook. It was an 06 MacBook. Mm-hmm. So that pretty much skews any possibilities of it being remotely smooth in general, because that thing was just a hunk of junk. But and I think I was using one of the very first versions of Tiger that was released for the Intel Macs, so it was possible that's what it was. Because I love it on Power PCs. I mean, it's like the best operating system. I like Leopard.
it was because I got the first iMac that shipped with 10.4, and the initial version was okay, but it got much better. I remember having to install the beta of Boot Camp on Tiger before it came out on Leopard. There was a beta for Tiger, but it was unsupported, and the instructions required you at a time to update your version of Tiger, but that version of Tiger didn't come out yet. So it was this you were sort of waiting in the wings there, all right, hold on, there's an update coming.
There's something I want to mention, which will then segue us into the next topic, I think, quite well, and that is that when we started, talking about the challenge, for me the first time last year, everyone was saying 10.4, put 10.4 on, 10.4 is stable, 10.5 is rubbish, which I did. I took the advice of, sort of my Mac Yak fellows, and I did that. But what I found is when it actually came to installing systems, software on there that I could actually use to try and actually do some work on the stuff, on the thing, I found that I had to go to 10.5 because there were so many apps that only went back to 10.5. They didn't go back to 10.4.
That is actually one of the shining jewels of 10.5 is because of it being universal. It's the best supported application-wise. I mean, I've run into that same wall, Bruce, when it comes to installing apps on my iMac with 10.4 is you go through, you say, oh, this is great. It's like, this would be awesome on here. Requires Mac OS 10.5. It's like, oh, you kidding me? But the problem is I don't want to give up my classic mode on my G5 either, so
it's the dual boot.
It's you kind of get between a rock and on a G5. I've never actually run it on a G5, but I'm sure Leopard probably runs okay because I think it was more tailored for the G5 than it was the G4. And I just installed it on a G4 Quicksilver and it's meh. It's kind of sluggish.
Yeah, it's very, very intensive.
Now, if I installed that on my dual processor G5, I'm sure it would probably rock pretty decent because that machine is a lot more efficient. But I don't know. I don't want to get rid of the classic mode. That's like one of the biggest.
It's funny. Last year, we were doing the PowerPC challenge, and I tried to update my database for the website. And I tried to do more with the G4 than I ever did before in previous years. So I'm talking to Bruce, and I'm like, dude, I need an app to update my database. He's like, dude, just go to Leopard, man. It's easier. We got all these apps. And everything I was looking for, his answer was, dude, go to Leopard. It's easy. And he knows that I refuse to run Leopard on anything. But we figured it out. We found some old versions and some nightly builds and beta versions and made it work somehow. There's a few things I just couldn't pull off, but Tiger got me far.
Yeah. Well, just a little note to everybody. I actually still run Tiger on a daily basis.
As you should. I know we're strapped for time, but I just want to mention real quick that Steve had an interaction with someone on Facebook that was running their business on a Pismo or something for the last 20 years.
Yeah. There's a specific piece of software that they needed that ran on 9, and they were well aware of its potentials for getting them into trouble. That's why they had a Pismo and they had a 12-inch PowerBook G4 and stuff like that. So that was quite an adventure. I mean,
did you get them sorted out?
They got themselves sorted out. Yeah, nice. But
it's
just
one
one
of
those
those
things.
20 years.
It's just one of those things. If you're using the app, you're okay. But I of course, we all strongly advise you keep backups of your stuff because old things are unpredictable and can sometimes be a pain in the butt, as some of us know.
Yeah, especially if you're running an OS 9 machine in 2020 for crying out loud,
Well, that
That's
does
just
segue
asking for
into our
trouble.
next topic.
Well,
Yes?
actually, not our next topic because we're going to take a small little break here and we're going to go to the Eep/Quack game.
Really?
Yeah. Because we
Yes.
only have two. Well,
Well,
we have one on Discord too. Someone submitted one.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm not going to go over the rules because everybody should know the rules by now. We've been doing this for what, almost 6,
Fine,
7
if you
If you
months
don't, you'll
now?
catch on.
Yeah. If you don't, yeah.
GT's too tired to go over the rules.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we're already over time.
If you don't know the rules, go to our last show and watch it, and you'll know the rules. So
Yeah, watch the whole thing.
exactly. All right. So the first one's actually a repeat from last week, and
We said we would.
yeah, we said we would. Eep or if you have, a quack if you haven't. Okay, just simple rules. First one. Have you watched all 100 episodes of Mac Yak? Because some of you guys said quack a whole lot, and
Well, everybody said quack, but there were a few people. Oh,
We-
I'll catch up.
yeah,
That's
we
why I'm
gave you
repeating.
guys.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we
I
gave.
made no such promise.
We gave. We gave all you guys out there.
And you know what? I'll be cracked next week as well.
Oh, look at all these quacks.
It's like I spend enough time with you jerks. I don't have to
That's
listen
a
to you my
lot
free
of
time.
hours.
I know. I could say eep because I'm pretty much done every episode. So.
Yeah, and I'll put it in text so to break up that little quack fest over there.
Yeah. There.
Yeah, some of the early ones are a bit rough. I will tell you that.
And what's
Yeah.
funny about this is he's our newest host on
He
here.
wasn't quack last week.
No,
No,
he
I
wasn't.
was an eat last week.
He was
Yeah,
an
you
eep.
were. Okay.
He was an eep.
Yeah.
He was actually one of our very first fans. So that's how we got him roped into being a host on here now.
Yeah.
So you know.
Look how well it turned out for me.
We gave him a
Exactly.
quiz.
Yeah.
You know, kiddies, if you keep watching, you could be on the show.
And I expect, if we ask this next week, I expect an eep from Tim. Tim Eberly?
Yeah, if you're in the hospital, you could watch
Even
all
though
these
it
episodes.
sucks that you're in the hospital, you got no excuse not to watch 500
Exactly.
hours of Mac Yak. No.
Yeah, didn't we figure it up? It's about if
It's
you
a
figure
lot.
2 hours per show average at 100 episodes, that's 200 hours.
It's enough to drive a man insane.
That's about
Yeah,
what 9
just
days.
pretend all the news is current.
I think that's about 9 days of solid watching. So that's if you watch it 24/7. So if you take a break, then you're looking at about 2 weeks solid. You gotta to watch it. 12
Yeah, or
hours a
just
day.
watch it on the toilet, so that's one less break you gotta take, you know.
When your ears start to bleed, you know it's time for a break.
Yeah. All right, next one. Have you ever participated in a PPC challenge since 2017?
Eep.
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 Quack.
Who quacked?
What?
I
Dana.
Dana. What?
I have not been able to until this year.
What?
Yeah. Yep.
Look at the quacks coming out. Man, we got nothing but quacks coming out. What is
Seriously.
up with that?
What is
I
wrong
should
with you
be-
people?
I mean, I should say, I think the
Oh, Michael
first
Mullet
show
got an eep.
in 2018. I did kind of partially work with my Pismo, but then the drive started failing, and so only like I don't know, maybe less than a week into it, the drive started going kaput, and I was like, I don't have any time to mess with anything else. So I started to, but no, I didn't finish any of them.
All right, Kate, you have to participate this time. Come on now.
Yeah.
Mackey's going to slap you, around if you don't.
See a hand come out of the screen?
You know, what's going to happen is she's going to be sitting there, and a floppy disk is going to go pew and just bang her face.
dear.
All right, so yes. All right,
I'm saving the one from Discord for next
Next
show
week?
because that's a whole discussion on its own.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, let me get back up here to the topic so I can change it. So we're going to talk about the Power PC Challenge now. Every year we've been doing this. This will be our third time since we started this show, where we did a Power PC Challenge. We actually, I think we traditionally are now doing it in January. I think that's when we started our first one. Now our
Yeah.
second one was in January. So I think last year was, what, a 2-week one?
I think.
Yeah,
well,
we
it
extended
started off as a week,
Yeah.
but some of us were having so much fun we extended it.
Yeah.
I think there was also, and this is something that happened with me, and that is that it took me so long to kind of prep everything that I kind of needed another week to then go in and try the challenge out.
Why do you think I started 3 weeks ago?
Yes. Well, you're a veteran. I wasn't. I was a new.
Yeah.
And then Bruce was like, wow, this is cool. I'm going to spend a fortune on memory and SSDs and flux capacitors. And now he's not even going to use the damn thing.
No, I suspect I am, actually. But
Okay.
we'll get to that in a moment.
Well, I think, remember last year, Bruce, you said you were breaking out the G5, remember?
Yeah,
I
he
think,
had to go into storage.
See, this is the thing. I had a G5 in storage, the dual processor, the first sort of version. It's not a liquid cooled one or anything like that.
well, it's like mine. I have the air-cooled dual processor.
Yeah, and I was, I was in storage, and I was like, there is no way I'm going to go this. So I'm going to work with what I have here, and I had G4 laptops, and I had a G4 titanium, and I had iBooks and things like that. And then I was pulling them out, and I was trying to find the one with the most RAM. The one that I had here, I think the most RAM I could put in it was 1.5. I think, and I was able to set up nice monitors and everything. I was like, yeah, this is all great, but it just started getting harder and harder and harder, and then I just went, stuff it. And one day I just hopped into the car, drove to storage, and brought the G5 back. So,
Well, I've used my G5. Last year, I don't think I really participated much. I think I did a little bit, but not a whole lot. But I was using my iMac G4 last year. But this year, I'm going to use a 17-inch PowerBook G4. So that's going to be my main machine, and that's the machine I actually got for free when I bought this classic Mac Pro that I have, because he threw it in with the deal. And the only problem with it is the bottom of it. He tried sanding the paint off the bottom. Yeah. So
yes, you do.
Ouch.
the bottom looks like garbage, but it's 100% usable. And the only thing I had to replace in it, I had to go and buy a new CD cable, the little ribbon cable. That's the only thing I had to buy for it because the CD didn't work, so I couldn't install an operating system at the time. But everything's working on it. I have Tiger on it, and I have the classic OS on it, and I play Civilization on it all the time. So, but I've been getting it ready to go. But that's going to be my main machine for the challenge.
So why don't we do a round robin?
Yeah.
Who's using what? So we
All
know
right.
what
I'll
GT
go.
is using.
I'm going to, I was debating on using a blue and white G3, but I have a different project in mind for that. I'm going to use the same mirror drive doors that I used last year. I'm going to strip out some of the upgrades so that it becomes an actual challenge.
What CPU is in that one natively?
Currently, there's a dual 2.0 Sonnet in there, which
Why
is
not keep that in there?
That's not a challenge. Last
Yeah, it
year, I
is.
took that card out and I put a dual 867 in there. It was a little bit too slow, so now I'm just going to put the stock 1.42 in there.
Part of the challenge then is waiting longer for stuff to happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that...
Yeah, you want when you're
That
using
doesn't
these old
sound-
machines,
Yeah.
Dude, I'm running a 1 terabyte SATA SSD in there. That thing flies in everything it does.
I'm sure it does, but
Why?
Right.
If I'm gonna pimp it out so that it's fast enough to be on par with a G5, I might as well use a G5, and I don't use G5s. So I'm gonna put the dual 1.42 back in. I'm gonna leave the SATA SSD. Maybe downgrade the graphics card a little so it plays nicer with OS 9. 2 big 22-inch displays, and I want to be comfortable this time around. It's still going to be a challenge, but more comfortable to do everything I need to do.
Gotcha.
And with Tiger, of course.
Bruce, how about you?
as mentioned before, I had the G5 last time. One of the things that's happened is this G5 has now become permanently set up in here, and I've got it set up so that I can view it. I can view it from my main screen and everything. So it's a lot easier to access the G5. But that actually has a whole bunch of other benefits that I won't go into now. But like Steve, I was inspired by Steve. He wants to do something a little bit different for the challenge this year, and I
crazy.
thought, yeah, very crazy. And I thought I would like to go down the same path. So I was actually thinking to myself, what if I was to try a System 6 challenge for this one? So rather than, looking at, whatever the hardware specifically, actually trying to do it in System 6. Now, I have a Macintosh 2CI with a Radius Rocket 68040 accelerator, and that will allow me to run System 6 on an 040 CPU.
Jealous.
So I can, really get the most out of that 8 megabytes of RAM. And I've spent quite a lot of time setting the system up and putting software in place and everything, and there is an incredible irony associated with this, and that is that, as we've said with this challenge, the thing here is it's more about your downtime. It's not about you're going to be using this for work. It's like, you can use your normal computer for work so that you don't lose your job and stuff, but when you're in your downtime and you're going to be using the computer then, you try and actually use the computer for that. And the irony is that I can actually do quite a lot of work on this thing. Sort of whether it be writing code or whether it be, writing something or illustrating or, or designing. I can do work on this thing, but I can't do any of the recreational stuff. I can't check emails. I can't web browse. I can't, I'm virtually cut off. I can about the most exciting thing I can do from a web-based type thing is I can transfer files backwards and forwards from an FTP server. But
didn't Eudora run on System 6?
Eudora 1 does, which doesn't even allow you to do authentication for a mailbox.
Yeah, that'd be the thing, yeah.
So, does anyone even run mail servers without authentication anymore?
No.
Only those living on the edge.
Yeah, that's right.
Or in denial.
So yes, I can have Eudora 1.3 on there, and if I could set up some sort of archaic, mail server, I could probably use it for that. But other than that, there's very little. I can play games on it. There are plenty of games that I can play on there. But I'm going to have a go with it, and I'm probably going to do some video content and write a little bit of stuff about it. But I suspect that I will end up on the G5 for the challenge.
Okay.
Dana, how about you?
Right before I do mine, I've just been looking through the chat here. We've got Graham Cooper said he's going to use an 1.07 gigahertz iBook G4 running Tiger. We've got
Ed Retrotech says I'm going to use a PowerBook G4 1.5 gigahertz with 1.5 gigs of RAM and an mSATA drive running Tiger. That thing's going to fly.
Nice. So it looks like we got some people here. If anybody else wants to put in what they're going to use, go ahead and put it in the chat, and we'll get to it here in a second.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and also, sorry, quick interruption. If you are on our Discord server, Steve made a separate channel called 68K PPC Challenge, where people are sharing their setups and screenshots and photos, and it's pretty fun to watch. So
Michael Mullet's using a G5. David Stahl's using a Cube. Very cool. I thought about using a Cube, and I was like, I want to go older than that. So I decided now, primarily,
Sean should use his
early on
RGB Cube.
Boo.
I don't. Did Sean even say what he's going to use?
I don't know, but I had to say that because Jay doesn't approve of the RGB.
Justin Morgan says MDD FireWire 800. That's a good choice. Scarlet Swordfish. I'm going to draw a picture each day on my Mac Plus. There you go.
I love it.
So my first inclination was to use my Radius clone It's a Radius 81/110, so it's basically a Power Mac 8100, 110 megahertz, 601 based machine. And I've actually got it, set up. It's working, and I had what I thought was a G3 CPU upgrade, a Sonnet, and I put it in and I booted it up, and it's a G4, 350 megahertz.
Oh boy!
So and like when I was looking for software updates on Macintosh Garden with the 601 processor running, it was so dog slow. Like it took forever for even the Garden to load, and when I put in that I got the Sonnet software from there, and I downloaded it and I installed it, and put the Sonnet in and booted it up, and it's like night and day. It's incredible. It's still, there's still some lag to stuff, but it renders web pages like that compared to the old 601.
Oh yeah.
So,
definitely.
but I ran into an issue.
What speed did you say that G4 card was?
It says on the label on the card says 350/1M, so it's a 1 meg of cache with a 350 megahertz G4 on it.
I was sure the G4 was faster than that, but I could be wrong.
The crescendo for the PCI version went up to like a gigahertz, I think.
Okay.
But the NuBus version, I think, topped out at around 350 or 4.
All good.
But so yeah, that was a total surprise to me. But I'm running into a problem with I can't use the AV card that was made for the first gen Power Macs, which allows you to have dual monitors. It allows you to have much higher resolution, up to like 1152 by 870, or is that what it was? But the Sonnet card, the NuBus adapter faces up, and it's right beneath, the PDS slot is right beneath the power supply. So there's no room to put the AV card. So I am stuck at 640 by 480 with one screen.
They had ribbon cables you could buy, which were the most fragile cables that they ever looked at. I looked at one once on eBay, and I'm like, if I bought that, it would break the second I got it. But it was like one of those orange flex cables with a connector on each side. And I'm like, oh, no.
Those are terrible. Yeah, I don't have anything like that. But so because I'm running into this roadblock, I mean, I could still try it, but it's not going to be any fun at that resolution. So I'm thinking that instead, I'm going to go with a Workgroup Server 9650, which is the last before they came out with the beige G3s. It was the last 604E based PowerPC. So it has an ultra SCSI card in it, unless the previous owner took it out, which I don't think he did. So I have a 73 gig ultra SCSI drive that I can throw in there, and I can put whatever apps I need on it, and it's a 10,000 RPM drive. So that kind of intrigues me a little bit. And I don't have any processor upgrades, but I got a lot of RAM upgrades for it. So I think I may switch to that. But I haven't even started working on it.
You could use multiple. It's okay.
What OS are you going to use on it?
If I use the 601, I'm going to go to 8.6. It's on 9.1 now, and I think it'll be a little bit better if I go to that. But if I use the 9650, I'll probably just go with 9.1, just because I could try 8.6, but it's probably going to be a little easier, and it'll run it faster. So we'll see. I may test it. So that's where I'm at. I'm kind of in limbo at the moment.
Yeah, it's all right to use multiple machines though. So
if I can find room to set them both up, I will. But those are big machines. So
yeah, they're a little chunky.
And Mike, you're going with the prototype?
Yeah, I'm going to use my G5 iMac, my 2.1 gigahertz, 20-inch iSight iMac with the maxed out 2.5 gigs of RAM and 250 gig SSD in it.
None of those specs matter. Just say that it has a card reader in the back.
It does. It has a card.
SD card reader. /
NCF.
Yeah.
So
to make us all
there's
jealous.
a lot of, like I said, on Discord, people have been sharing what they're going to use. A few people in the chat, but there's no time to go into our third topic, which was going to be probably an hour on its own.
Yeah.
But I just want to summarize it real quick. topic 3 was all about preparedness for such a PowerPC or 68K challenge. As you heard, Steve took a week just to get an operating system installed. Dana is running into issues. The topic was be prepared. So if you want to participate in this challenge, start now. Get your system.
And
get
we
your
still got
hardware
the rest
clean.
of December.
Yeah, get your hardware cleaned up. Install the system you want. Configure your email clients. Whatever you want to have working on it. Get it set up so when the challenge starts, you just turn that thing on and you're good to go.
Don't be like
I will
Bruce
probably
and do it
write
in the middle.
a blog post with and I'll do the rounds within the Mac Yak team. Everybody makes a little list of what software they see as a must-have for certain systems and operating systems, and I'll put it on the Mac Yak website. But yeah, start preparing right about now if you want to participate.
Yes.
That includes making desk space for whatever system you're going to use. So I am not following my own advice.
That's why
That's
I
the
went
only
with
thing I'm
the.
going to have a problem with is desk space.
That's why I went with the laptop. I don't have to worry about desk space.
That's why I
Well,
think
my only power
my
PC
machine has to
laptop
stay.
took a crap, so.
What?
I said my only power PC laptop took a crap. Well, not the laptop, but the power adapter. The power adapter on my 3400 died, unfortunately.
And those are hard to find too because of the way those are weird. I mean the power adapters for those.
Yeah, and Grudy said he was going to send you a new one, but I'm sure that'll take at least 2 months.
Yeah, because he still hasn't sent Trina her iPod. So even though Grudy's not here, we're just going to slam him for that.
He's probably watching.
Now, I have
We're going to get a text in a minute.
I have
Who's
my
watching?
iMac set up
Grudy.
on bedroom.
He's probably
so
watching.
I can use it in there. There's plenty of room. It's sitting on top of my dresser, and I have a
You
wireless.
need to get that couch out of there and burn it so that you can have a desk over there.
Yeah,
I was thinking about cheaping out and just put the G4 onto my desk, run the cables to these screens that have multiple inputs, but I want to do this properly, make it separate.
That's what I was thinking with the Quadra. I was going to bring, because I'm going to do it for nobody who watched the video. I'm going to do my challenge on a Quadra 800, and I have System 7, 7.1, 7.6, and 8.1 on it. And the idea is I want to use it with period appropriate hardware and stuff. So I was going to bring the tower up here, but there's no room on the desk because the G4, the Mac Pro tower rather, takes up the spot. So I think I'll just leave it dedicated downstairs. But there's a nice CRT that goes with it, and I'm not lugging that up the stairs. I can tell you that.
That's beautiful too.
Yeah, it's a freaking 20-inch Trinitron. I'm not lugging that up the stairs.
That's one thing I'm not using is a CRT. I've got plenty of flat screens I can.
Well, see, I almost went with that, Dana. I almost went with the flat screen, but I'm having an issue where the card will most of the time not recognize the resolution supported by the LCD. And so I said, you know what? Let me just use a CRT, and right away it understood it, it synced it, and it was all happy with it. But I have some minor upgrades that I'm going to put in there, and I'll document that. But
minor upgrades. You got a crate full of cards.
Minor my ass.
And I got, and I know people keep bugging me on about it, but there'll be a video out about how to get Discord on IRC client, and you could use that on a 68K Mac or a PowerPC Mac or whatever. It's not a one-to-one solution, but you get text chat, so it's fancy enough for you.
Better than nothing.
Exactly. There you go.
And that's part of the thing with using these old machines is it's try to see what you can do with them. I mean, they're not totally useless. You know? Although I did find out something with the last video I just made, which I haven't made public yet, but I don't know if any of the Mac Yak guys watched it. You cannot connect to the iTunes store with Leopard anymore.
Yeah.
You used to be able to listen to internet music and stuff like. Because I used to do it when I had the actual shack. I used to load up I used to have Leopard on my eMac. My 1.25 eMac, and I used to
stream that free music
off of it, and you can't anymore.
Yeah, the only solution is you could use your own library with the iTunes sharing, but obviously,
you can listen to your own music, but one of the things that I thought was a pro with Leopard was that you could still connect to the iTunes store, and unfortunately they cut that off, which sucks.
Yeah.
I knew they did it with Tiger, which is okay. I mean, I have enough music to last me a lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I stream music at work on an iPhone 4S, for crying out loud. And actually, that's kind of, I actually kind of have to hack that to make it work. To get iHeartRadio to work on that thing is actually a pain in the butt, because you have to have you have to have an old version, and the version that you download from the App Store is not old enough to run on an iPhone 4S. So it's like I somehow managed to snag it, and I keep that phone backed up religiously, because if I lose that backup, then I lose that software. So, which kind of sucks, because that thing actually does really good streaming.
Yeah, it's hard to get older versions of those apps on those devices sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think after we do the Power PC challenge, I think we should do the old iPhone challenge.
Oh God,
no, I'm out.
No,
I'm using
any old
a
iPhone.
2017 phone, and I want to smash it every day. What are you...
I'm going to tell you somebody that actually did that already. What's his name? The 8-bit guy did a original iPhone challenge for a week.
Yeah.
He did a video on it too, so go back and watch it.
He did it several years ago, though.
Well, yeah, he didn't have AT&T then. Not currently, at least, because I got an email about a month ago from AT&T says one or more devices on your plan with this phone number will soon no longer be able to join our network. Please upgrade. And that's my dad's iPhone 5 and I think an iPhone 4S.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I had my 4 and my 4S on T-Mobile, and no problems. Except for the fact that they're slow as can be, but I mean, I have an iPhone 5C that I use on T-Mobile. That's my work phone. I mean, obviously I have my 6S Plus, which really is not out of date yet.
I mean, the only reason I'm still on AT&T is because I get a 50% discount from my old employer. But
yeah, I mean, I don't blame you there.
You know,
price of phone.
When it comes to service, they suck.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of AT&T. So I've always had good luck with T-Mobile. You know, I've been using them, oh my God, since the turn of the century. And every time I leave, I always end up coming back. So.
Okay.
So, are we done?
I think so.
That's it.
Just
Just like that, we all got the wind knocked out of us.
Yeah. So let me see here. One of the things I want to talk about, we're not going to go shameless anytime soon. So let's go with the join a Discord.
We're shameless as soon as we go live.
That's right, we are. So, anyways, guys, just make sure that you hit that like button, but also make sure that you do something here that I'm going to
smash that like
pull
button.
it up here real quick, and let's see.
Smash that like button. Smash that like button. Smash that like button.
Smash that like button. Make sure you guys do that. So make sure you also
smash that like button.
It was the
It's
first
still
time.
going. It's still going. You gotta stop
It's on
it.
loop.
It won't stop.
Smash
because
that like button.
I didn't hide it.
Smash that
My
like
window's
button.
showing it at 7 likes. Is that not updated or what?
I'm showing
It's at
23.
22.
Okay, mine just hasn't updated.
Is that going to be our next show? Just that repeating itself over?
Yeah.
We got more than we
Yeah.
bargained for. on
It's
that
our,
one.
Hey,
it's our best video
That was
ever.
a last minute ad because
never gonna be able to play that
Jay
again
was
now.
texting me asking me who was playing that, so I had to go back and find it in our text chat, which was about like 50 images back in our text chat. So I found it.
That was only one day.
Yeah. So
Hey, I did it first.
Mike
Well,
stole it.
Well, then
technically
read
I
the
did.
chat. We've been trying to set it up for the last half hour.
yeah. Anyways, guys,
I
make
didn't
sure.
play it on screen, but I played the audio from it earlier.
Yeah,
Well, actually,
yeah.
I did on my last live stream.
Yeah. But
You got a content match from
That's
Bruce's
that's a
channel
copyright
that's
claim
suing
right there.
Yeah, I know.
Did we?
Gotta pay Bruce $5. Now I have to pay Bruce $5 every time I use it.
Yeah, and anyone wondering with it in a loop like that? Yeah, I did pretty well at it Tonight Show.
Yeah, what'd you make? About $50 just right there.
Quickest 50 you ever made.
Yep. All right, guys. So make sure you also hit that subscribe button. Also hit that bell icon because we only do this once a week. And to be honest with you, you're going to miss us for the next 2 weeks because we won't be back until next year, 2021.
Yeah.
Because
we've decided that we can no longer take the abuse from the live chat every week, so we're taking a little break.
Well, the biggest reason why is because Christmas Eve is Thursday, and then New Year's Eve is Thursday. So we're going to take those 2 days off because we did take Thanksgiving off because, it's on a Thursday, of course. So we will be back again the first Thursday of January, which I don't have a calendar. 7th. The 7th? Okay. So
is that when we're introducing the new show date and time? Every Monday morning at 7 a.m.? We're starting that next year?
Well, guys, I hate to say
that's
that.
Good news for Bruce.
Bye.
Yeah. And I'm going to stop and producing it, so,
that'll be my nighttime, so you get to see me drunk.
Late night with Bruce.
I was going to say, that's good news for Bruce.
But yes, Action Retro, Happy New Year, and everybody watching and listening, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, yada yada, and we'll be back.
Sean's usually gone to bed by now.
Yeah. We actually still got a pretty good watch.
I'm sure a lot of us, I know speaking for myself, will be doing silly amounts of live streams with the time off that I have coming up. So
yeah, I stopped live streaming for a bit to make space for your live streams and Bruce and Dana and all.
Sure,
and
that's a good
now
excuse,
Mike is streaming like he's possessed. So I'll take a step back from live streaming and let y'all do it.
Yeah, okay.
I think there are cobwebs on that live stream button there, Jeff.
Yeah, speaking of which,
I'm trying to stream more because nobody else is. Steve's barely done any. Bruce has barely done any. Dana doesn't do anything.
I did one the other day.
He needs to rename his channel instead of Dana Does Stuff. Dana doesn't do anything.
I don't know.
Well, then we have to redesign the logo, and
he just doesn't film it.
Yeah.
I've already done the logo.
So I haven't had any live streams in like 3 weeks, and I apologise to everyone for that. But I will be live streaming this weekend. So
you said tonight, right?
Yeah. Not tonight.
10 minutes.
Hey, wait. Isn't it Friday there? So it's already your weekend, see?
Well, it's the middle of the day here, so strictly speaking, this is still the work day. So, I consider the weekend starts tomorrow.
No, wait. So it's the middle of the day, so in about 6 hours you're going to start streaming, right?
No, in about 4 hours he'll be drunk, and 6 hours he can start streaming.
So I am planning a stream probably early afternoon on Saturday, which will be, late night on Friday, and probably morning on Sunday, which will be Saturday early evening, I guess.
And I should also do a little shout out to, because I know there's a lot of people here that do live streams. Let's see, Scarlett streams on
Twitch.
Twitch.
So do I.
I mean, well, yeah,
Yes.
but
You don't count
computer related. Where's the other one? Where's the other one? I lost it.
Yeah, you guys don't like watching me
Crazy
run
Tech
around
Reviews.
in circles?
He does live. Or I don't know if he does live streams, but
Yes,
he does. So if you are on our Discord and you have a channel or you live stream, drop a link in the general chat, and we can boo you off the stage, or we can actually watch it.
Maybe one of these days I'll get that stream bot fixed back up in there, and if you have a stream, we can add you into the stream bot, and it will automatically announce when you're actually streaming when you go live.
Yep.
So,
You got to pay us, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, once the check clears, you're good.
And I don't know if Steve plugged it, but go and have a look at all of the fun and games that Steve's been having with his Quadra 800. It's very entertaining.
Oh yes.
God. Oh, God. I have it on the clipboard. Thank you for
yeah,
reminding
you
me.
just in fact, Steve, you just released a video tonight, didn't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did just a few hours ago. But there's my Quadra 800 shenanigans, and get some popcorn and sit down because gonna be a while.
I think I can't remember. I think it's the third one, the one you played today. I mean, the first 20 minutes of the video is just you being frustrated. It's awesome.
And as he rightly pointed out in his video, that doesn't show you the weeks of agony we had to put up with.
Nope.
Okay, I still don't see a link there unless you sent it to us only.
I just put it in the chat, but
Yeah,
put a chat link in earlier and it was
Chat's
hiding.
going pretty crazy right now.
Yeah, it's not showing anything.
Yep.
Post it again.
But even though we're not going to be streaming, of course, there's going to be, like they said, individual live streams. I think Greg might be doing a Q&A 500. And, of course, we're always hanging out on Discord, so do join the server because it's fun.
I'll be on Discord on an older computer.
Yeah. Sorry, it's blocking your posts as well, Steve. I wasn't unbeginningly.
GG, they just found out they're no longer admins.
What?
What?
No, we're joking.
No, I was gonna say you should be.
I think YouTube is just having a mild stroke.
They must be or something because I'm not seeing it.
Just go to the YouTube Mac 84 thingy, and you go.
You were
there.
able to post.
Go to his in the description below is his link to his channel. So just go there.
And I believe I think there's a video coming from Macintosh Librarian, something about a Christmas Mackie or something.
Yeah, what was that? Yeah, I heard.
I haven't seen anything yet.
We're putting everyone on the spot because we're not producing anything.
Exactly.
And look who just popped in.
Rudy's
Rudy.
just arrived.
All right, let's get out. Bye, guys. See you later.
Yes, we are still live.
We don't need to go another hour.
We're not dead.
We got so much more productive conversation done without you here, Greg. So we went a little long.
All right, so join us on Discord, guys.
All right, guys. Anything else before I hit the end button here?
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Don't get too drunk. And
Merry Christmas, everybody, and
Merry
hopefully
Christmas,
everybody has
Happy Life Day.
a safe, happy New Year, and we'll see you guys next year. Have a good
Adios.
Happy New Year. See you guys
See you
next
later,
year.
everyone. Bye.